in the soft whisper of a garden breeze. Something unexpected begins to turn. It's not a weather vane or a plastic pinwheel bought from a store, but flamingo, graceful and pink, crafted entirely from parts once destined for the landfill. Its slender neck arcs like a question mark, bent from a piece of wire you might have stepped over yesterday. Its wings, once fan blades forgotten in a shed, now spin in slow pirouettes, flickering between sun and shadow. There's nothing perfect here. Paint peels slightly at the edge. A curve is not symmetrical, but that's the charm. These birds were never meant for a showroom. They're meant for laughter, for wind, for the joy of seeing trash reborn with flair. If you look closely, the feathers shimmer with a hue no manufacturer could replicate. The soft blush of reused plastic under sunlight, a glow born from memory and effort. One flamingo stands tall beside a patch of rosemary. Another leans slightly, as if listening to the bees. Their feet, fashioned from bent coat hangers, rest gently in garden soil beside river pebbles. They don't call for attention. They earn it slowly, spinning stories with every turn. All it takes is a broken fan, a used bottle, and the belief that whimsy has a place in the everyday. In a world full of noise, these flamingos remind us, sometimes the wind only needs wings, not perfection, to dance. Along the back fence, just where the mint grows wild and the rosemary stretches toward the sun, a parrot keeps watch. He doesn't sing, he doesn't squawk, but his colors sing for him. Red, yellow, blue, all shaped from plastic spoons that once stirred sugar or soup. They fan across his sides like feathers frozen mid-flight, catching the morning light in playful bursts. He stands proud on a weathered bamboo fence, the kind you fix more often than you replace. His body, a green detergent bottle, is smooth and painted with care. There's a tilt in his neck, a sly angle to his scoop-shaped beak that makes you feel like he knows a secret. His eyes, made from stacked bottle caps and clear lids, don't blink, but still, they watch. This parrot didn't fly in from a shop. He was imagined into being, one broken utensil, one leftover bottle at a time. There's joy in his imperfection, a slight wobble in his stance, a smudge on his wing. But nothing here needs fixing. In fact, it's these gentle flaws that make him feel so alive, so present. When the breeze lifts the ivy beside him, he rustles too, just a little, as if to say, I belong here. And truly he does, not just as decoration, but as a reminder that beauty can be bold and bright, even when it starts as something broken. That fences are not the end of spaces. Sometimes they're the best place for birds to perch and stories to unfold. Early in the morning, before the sun climbs too high, the garden comes alive in quiet ways. The breeze carries a chill, and dew clings to the white stones along the path. It's here, beside the fence where succulents nestle in frost-touched soil, that a parade begins. Not of ants or footsteps, but penguins. They aren't real, of course, but they feel like they might be. Each one is born from a plastic bottle once tossed away. Their glossy black coats shimmer with brushstrokes of reused paint, and their white bellies are softened by texture, like snow worn down by the sun. Orange spoons peek forward as beaks, some straight, others a little crooked from use, from story. Their feet, pressed gently into gravel, are made from bottle caps or smooth pebbles, anchoring them like little statues of winter joy. Some wear scarves, bits of old fabric wrapped around their necks in a gesture, so human it makes you smile. Others hold tiny spoons like trumpets, as if ready to sing into the crisp morning air. The eyes, oh the eyes, mismatched buttons from a sewing kit long forgotten. Some crossed, some wide, some hilariously surprised. And still it works. Together they create not just decoration, but something far more precious. Participation. Memory. A moment of play. You don't need to sculpt or sew. You only need a bottle, a spoon, a dab of paint, and a willingness to pretend. In return, you'll have a garden that laughs softly, invites children to point, and reminds grown-ups to wonder again. These penguins won't waddle, but they stay, and that somehow is just as magical. In the dappled shade of the pergola, just beyond the reach of marigold blossoms and the scent of blooming sage, sits a raccoon, not the sneaky kind that rustles through trash cans, but one made of trash itself, reborn into something kind, quirky, and unforgettable. This raccoon doesn't move, doesn't blink, yet still manages to smile with a certain quiet mischief. His belly is wide and slatted, a seat shaped from repurposed wood. His round steel drum body has been sanded smooth and painted in soft tones of gray, black, and white. No gloss, just calm strokes laid with care. A painted pipe tail curls from one side like a whimsical comma. The eyes? Bottle caps with just a hint of rust, but they sparkle when the sun hits right. Children often giggle when they find it. Look, it has ears! And adults pause, touched by the humor and heart that went into something so grounded. This isn't just a bench. It's a conversation, a character, a reminder that joy can be built from scraps, and that charm doesn't need symmetry or polish. Behind the bench, a curtain of bamboo fencing adds a quiet sense of enclosure, while big black pots of rosemary and thyme give the space an earthy depth. Sit down, and suddenly the garden feels more alive, not because it's full of motion, but because someone once looked at a pile of junk and imagined a raccoon. You don't need a blueprint, just a steel drum, a plank of wood, a few old pipes, and a bit of love. Build something silly, something warm, something that makes someone stop and smile. That's what the raccoon would do. Just beneath the tulips and tucked beside a bed of soft marigolds, something winds through the soil with joy. Not a real creature, but a playful echo of one, a caterpillar, reborn from tires too worn to roll. It moves without moving, a parade of colors shaped from the forgotten and the flat. Each tire segment is painted in bright, joyful hues, red, yellow, green, blue, like storybook footprints stretching across the earth. They're lined up end to end along the garden path, half buried for balance, but tall enough to peek above the soil as if in motion. The sun catches the paint and gives it life. In the afternoon, the shadows curl around it like laughter held in dirt. The face is where the story truly begins. Two plastic caps flip and fixed become eyes full of surprise. Wire springs or bent spoons rise like silly antennae, stretching toward the sky. And the mouth, painted on with love, smiles in a way only something hand-built can. It isn't perfect. The smile is slightly off-center, but it's wide, welcoming, undeniably happy. And surrounding it, a collection of tiny hedgehog friends peeking out from the mulch, bottle cap noses and broom bristle spines adding layers of whimsy. Together, they create a corner of the garden that doesn't ask to be admired. It dares you play. You don't need expensive materials. Just a few tires, some caps, some spoons, and a willingness to kneel in the dirt and imagine the kind of project that turns a forgotten space into something alive. The kind that makes even grown-ups pause and wonder, did it move? And maybe, just maybe, it did. Near the edge of a winding garden path, where time creeps across the soil and pansies gnawed in purple and yellow, a quiet parade begins. These aren't creatures that fly or crawl, but ladybugs, nonetheless. Not real ones, but bold and cheerful tributes made from scrap tires and a handful of joy. Each ladybug is a simple ring, just a slice of tire, half buried into the ground. But what it becomes with little red paint and black dots is something whimsical. Their bodies pop against the earth, bright as berries, while the imperfections in their hand-painted shells only add to the charm. Some dots are slightly off, some rings scuffed from a recent rain, but all of them feel alive. Look closer, and you'll see the delightful details that give them personality. A bent spoon sticks out like a tiny smile. Old bottle caps, some rusted, some gleaming, serve as mismatched eyes that peer up to the garden like quiet companions. A few ladybugs wear wire antennae curled like question marks, catching the morning light, lined in playful curves. They form a soft edging that guides the eye in the foot-long flower beds and herb patches. More than decoration, they become waypoints in a story that unfolds slowly with each step. Snapdragons on the left, chamomile on the right, and between them, a trail of tired ladybugs leading the way. You don't need a perfect garden to try this. Just an old tire, some leftover paint, and the courage to believe that beauty doesn't always come from a store. Sometimes it comes from looking at the ground and deciding it should smile back. In the warm stillness of a backyard corner, past the herbs and the curling edge of a hydrangea bloom, two unlikely guardians keep watch. A goat and a rooster, both stitched together from yesterday's scraps. They don't move, don't make a sound, but they speak volumes to anyone who's ever loved a garden for what it gives back. The goat, with his wide-eyed gaze and body built from old tires, stands as if caught in a moment of deep thought. His neck stretches like a question mark. His ears just slightly askew, fashioned from pieces of sanded-down rubber. You can almost hear him wondering if the basil smells different today. Painted softly in whites and grays, his posture is humble, his charm undeniable. Beside him, the rooster is louder in appearance, tail feathers splayed like flames, cut from strips of recycled rubber and painted in bold reds and oranges that gleam in the sun. His beak is open mid-crow, frozen in a moment that feels so full of life, you almost expect to hear it. His stance is proud, playful, a jester and a sentinel all at once. Together, they bring a whimsical balance to the garden, anchoring its humor and heart. The bamboo fence behind them leans gently, softened by the spread of mint, while bees hover nearby, unconcerned by the stillness of their company. These statues weren't made with precision tools. They were born of patience, paint, and perspective. You don't need to follow exact steps. Just look at what you nearly threw away and imagine what might still be waiting to emerge. In every crack, curve, and crooked smile, these creatures remind us, beauty often begins where structure ends. Tucked away in a quiet patch of the garden where the herbs grow dense and the sunlight filters softly through branches, there's a stillness that invites you closer. Not a grand fountain or a built-in pond, but something far humbler, a worn tire turned water garden, holding reflections of sky and curiosity. The tire, once cracked and discarded, is now a frame for a tiny world. Inside, clear water rests calmly, bordered by smooth white stones and softened with time. Floating on the surface are lilies, not real, but shaped from old plastic jugs. Their petals curve imperfectly, translucent and tender, catching the sun like bits of glass. Perched along the rim is the star of the scene, a frog made from a green soda bottle. His round body glows beneath a light coat of paint. Bent wires form legs ready to hop. His bottle cap eyes stare out with a look that's both wise and wonderfully silly. Around him, others join, some made with spoons, some with soft foam bellies, each with their own shape and posture. There's no splash, no pump, no lights. But the pond mirrors everything above, rosemary bending the breeze, basil swaying, and once, if you watch long enough, a passing dragonfly pausing for a drink. It's not a perfect craft, but a perfect moment. This kind of project doesn't ask for precision, just presence. You need a tire, some plastic, a bit of wire, and the quiet pleasure of repurposing what was once forgotten. In return, you get a space that feels like it's always been there, a still circle where frogs made of trash sit like kings of serenity. Just beneath the beams of a weathered pergola, where filtered light dances between ivy vines, a quiet collection of eyes begins to glow. They aren't birds, not exactly, but owls, reborn from plastic bottles, swaying gently in the breeze like lanterns with secrets. In their stillness, they speak of both light and memory. Each owl is crafted with care, but not perfection. A soda bottle becomes a body, its shape softened by hand-painted earth tones. Eyes made from salvaged jar lids give them a wide, thoughtful gaze. Their beaks, curved from painted spoons, jut out with quiet confidence. Around their necks, soft green moss is tucked in like a scarf, clinging to their plastic skins as if to say, "We've always belonged here." Some hang low above the herb bench, mint and oregano spilling from their crowns like feathers ruffled by wind. Others perch higher, filled not with soil, but with strands of fairy lights that glow faintly at dusk. When twilight comes and the garden stills, they shimmer, tiny beacons above time, beside rosemary under the hush of evening. There's a touch of whimsy in their uneven paint, a charm in their mismatched buttons and plastic wings cut from old packaging. They don't match. They don't need to. Each one holds a different story, of the hand that painted it, the lid that topped it, the moment someone decided not to throw it away. This isn't just lighting. It's a kind of slow magic. You don't need a workshop, just a bottle, some light, and the courage to string your story where it might shine. Let it sway in the breeze. Let it glow against the dark. Let your garden, too, tell a tale of second chances. Beneath the blooms, Where fallen petals settle in mulch and shadows dapple the soil, little eyes peek out. Not real creatures, but hedgehogs nonetheless, born not from nature, but from scraps of what we left behind. They don't move, they don't blink, but somehow they feel very much alive. Each hedgehog is small enough to fit in your palm, yet detailed enough to charm anyone who stumbles across them. Their bodies are shaped from old plastic bottles, rounded and softened with warm tones of paint, sometimes weathered, sometimes chipped. Bottle caps serve as their noses, curled wire or broom bristles for their backs. You can almost imagine them breathing, rustling softly beneath the thyme. Some are crowned with tiny daisies, their petals tucked gently behind button ears. Others were nothing at all, content to disappear among the leaves. A few lean against painted tire caterpillar borders like sleepy garden guardians, their expressions fixed somewhere between mischief and calm. They don't shout for attention. They're made for those who look closely, for the children who crouch in dirt to play, for the gardeners who kneel to weed and pause just long enough to smile. There's no grand skill needed to bring them to life. Just a bottle, some bristles, a pinch of imagination, and a quiet afternoon. You don't build these hedgehogs for show. You build them for joy, for the feeling of finding something hidden, something kind, in the undergrowth of your own making. And when you leave them there tucked beneath the blossoms, they stay not just as decoration, but as whispers that maybe, just maybe, the garden is watching back. In the corner of a well-loved garden, where time stretches with quiet confidence and parsley fans in lush green curls, tiny guardians dance on invisible threads. They're not real bees, but they hum with the spirit of them. Made from old bottles and clever hands, these bottle bees drift above the herbs like joy on a breeze. Each one is crafted from a yellow plastic bottle, faded by time perhaps, but reborn with purpose. Black stripes are painted with care, a little uneven, a little imperfect. Wings shimmer in the light. Cut from leftover plastic packaging, their edges slightly curl from the scissors. And the eyes, those big, gleaming bottle caps flip outward. Watch over the basil as if it were treasure. Mounted on flexible wire stems, the bees bounce and shift with the wind, adding a soft, playful movement to the garden. They don't buzz, but they hum in spirit. They don't pollinate, but they protect with presence, turning a simple herb patch into a stage for wonder. Children point and smile. Neighbors pause to ask, "Did you make those?" And the answer is always yes. Yes, with scraps and a few afternoons. Yes, with things most people would throw away. Yes, because gardens are not just for growing. They're for storytelling. This kind of beauty doesn't come from perfection. It comes from participation. From taking the things no one wants and letting them fly again, letting them belong. One bottle, one wire, one breeze. And just like that, your garden becomes more than edible. It becomes alive, with buzzing color, with gentle movement, and with a reminder. Even what seems useless can still bring light and laughter. There's a quiet kind of magic in the way a lizard clings to a wall, motionless, yet alive with potential. In one forgotten corner of the garden, that magic returns in cheerful color and clever disguise. Climbing not with claws, but with forks and wire, are geckos crafted from old plastic bottles, each one caught mid-sprint, frozen in joy. The bodies are long, curved shapes, once juice bottles or shampoo jugs, now painted in rich hues of teal, orange, or plum, not with factory smoothness, but with strokes that show the hand. Imperfect, human, real. Their tails curl into loops or spirals, made from hose offcuts or old cable tubing. And the eyes? Bright bottle caps gleam in the sun, layered to give the illusion of life. Their legs are whimsical inventions, forks or bent plastic forming tiny claws that grip the garden fence, just firmly enough to suggest motion. Some geckos lean up, some stretch sideways. All of them feel like they just paused, waiting to move again when no one's looking. This isn't just craft. It's play. It's the invitation to turn a plain wooden fence into a stage. A space once seen as an edge becomes a canvas for color and charm. You don't need special tools. Just a few bottles, something for limbs, a touch of paint, and a wall that needs a little life. The geckos won't eat bugs, but they will guard your garden with a wink and a flash of sunlight off their backs. And maybe one afternoon, as the wind stills and the shadows stretch, you'll swear one of them blinked. In the far corner of a modest garden, where the bamboo fence leans just slightly and mint trails lazily over the edges, a tall and curious figure watches from above. A giraffe, painted, pieced together, and completely imagined, stretches its long neck toward the sun, made not from wood or stone, but from what was once considered useless. Its body is a tower of repurposed jugs, clean, dried, painted by hand in soft browns and sunlit yellows. Dark spots at its sides, uneven and honest, like fingerprints on memory. Its head, shaped from a small pail or bottle top, tilts ever so slightly, as if listening to the wind through the basil. The horns? Kitchen sponges once stained by dishwater, now reborn into something proud. Two mismatched buttons become a giraffe's eyes, wide, calm, and a little playful. There's a smudge of paint with a mouth curves upward, a smile that wasn't planned but stayed. And somehow, that makes all the difference. Beside it, a spoon-feathered parrot joins the scene, as if they've been keeping garden watch together for years. Together, they transform a simple fence line into a lookout, a place where imagination takes root as easily as thyme or lavender. You don't need expensive materials to build presents. Just what you have: a brush, some glue, and the patience to turn odd parts into poetry. The giraffe doesn't move, but it brings movement, of thought, of joy, of a neighbor's glance that lingers just a little longer. Gardens are often made of what grows, but sometimes they're just as beautiful for what stands still and makes you wonder. There's a hush in the garden just after the sun rises, when the light is soft and the breeze is still, and in that golden stillness, something magical flutters at the edge of vision. Not real butterflies, but they're echoes, crafted from plastic, colored by hand, and strung across the fence like whispers. Each butterfly began as a discarded bottle, its smooth curve reshaped into wings with the careful cut of scissors. Imperfect lines, gently warped by heat or age, make each pair of wings unique, none quite matching and none needing to. Their colors bloom from brushstrokes of pastel paint: sky blue, lavender, lemon yellow. Some wings are layered with translucent panels, letting sunlight pass through like stained glass caught mid-flight. Mounted on twists of wire, their legs cling to fence posts and trellis slats, balancing gently between the morning glory vines and clumps of soft wild grass. One perches beside a bell pepper leaf. Another angles toward a patch of rosemary, its wings fluttering slightly in the early breeze. From a distance, they appear to move, hovering without motion, frozen mid-flight like a breath held in time. And up close, you see the details: the uneven paint, the thumbprint smudges, the recycled sole in every inch. This isn't a craft for showrooms. It's for joy. It's for pausing during watering to smile at something you made from almost nothing. A bottle, a bit of wire, a brush. That's all. These butterflies won't fly away. But somehow, they bring movement to even the stillest corners. And in doing so, they remind us what we call trash still has wings. Follow the winding pebble path through the garden, and you'll find them. Not quacking, not moving, but unmistakably full of life. A parade of ducks, each one born from the bottle someone nearly threw away. They waddle not across water, but through imagination, weaving through lettuce leaves and beside bursts of calendula blooms. Their bodies are rounded from soda bottles, painted in buttery yellows and glowing oranges that catch the sun. Some wear little hats made from caps. Others stretch their necks high, proud and curious, crafted from coiled piping or bent wire. Their beaks are spoons, curved, bright, and unexpectedly perfect. And their eyes? Googly buttons misaligned in the most delightful ways. They don't follow in a perfect line. Some face left, some lean right. One looks like it might take a nap. But together, they bring rhythm and movement to the garden, like a nursery rhyme made real beneath your marigolds and mint. Children linger here longer. Adults smile here more. Even birds sometimes pause to look, perching near their plastic cousins as if intrigued. You don't need symmetry. You don't need skill. Just a bottle, some paint, a bit of whimsy, and a path that could use company. These ducks won't chase pests or water the plants, but they will lift spirits and invite stories. Because sometimes the most important part of a garden isn't what you grow. It's what you build from joy. And here, With spoons and caps and forgotten things made tender again, joy waddles proudly through the dirt. In a sunlit corner of the garden, where the gravel holds a touch of morning chill and soft gray succulents reach toward the sky, winter has arrived. Quietly, playfully, without a flake of snow in sight. Here stands a snowman, not made from ice, but from what the world left behind. His body, smooth and white, is a trio of plastic jugs once used, rinsed, and nearly forgotten. He wears a scarf, scrap cloth, faded but warm, and his smile is shaped from old spoons, curved in a way that speaks of long afternoons and laughter. His nose is a bright orange utensil, a playful twist on a classic carrot. Eyes of flipped bottle caps stare cheerfully ahead, slightly uneven, but glow with something more enduring than perfection. His arms stretch out from twigs collected under the lemon tree, light but firm, pointing toward a row of hand-painted penguins nearby, as if in gentle welcome. Around his feet, smooth white stones form a base like frost, catching light, reflecting whimsy. And all around him, the garden carries on. Lavender sways, thyme curls, bees hum. But here, there's stillness, a moment frozen in joy. This isn't just decor. It's a pause, a turning of trash into memory. A little sculpture that makes summer gardens remember winter and makes winter gardens feel less alone. You don't need snow to build one. Just 3 jugs, some spoons, a scarf, and the will to build something that smiles without asking for much. Let him stand by the herbs. Let him watch the sky. Let him remind you that even the coldest things can carry warmth, if built with love. Not far from the herb pots and beyond the bend of the gravel path, a soft sound seems to hang in the air. Not music exactly, but something like the memory of it. Lined up in a neat row beside the garden fence are penguins. Not real, not marching, but playing. Each one holds a spoon like a trumpet, raised to the sky in frozen song. Their black and white bodies are hand-painted onto plastic bottles, each with its own little quirks. A smudge here, a chip there. Their beaks, bright orange and curved from kitchen spoons, jut forward in cheerful focus. Some penguins wear scarves stitched from old t-shirts. Others are bare-necked, but no less proud. In their hands, if you can call them that, gleaming spoons have been transformed into instruments. Bent just slightly, some polished, some dull by weather. Gold, silver, matte gray. A miniature orchestra, ready to play in the wind. Around their feet, soft succulents bloom like stage lights, and between them, a snowman nods in approval, arms outstretched like a conductor. It's not loud, it's not grand, but there's a harmony in the way it all stands together. The mismatched, the upcycled, the imagined, a concert of things once discarded, now given voice through placement and paint. You don't need to read music to build this scene. Just a bottle, a spoon, a bit of wire, and a daydream or two. And once you place them in your yard, you might find the garden seems a little more alive. Not because of sound, but because of story. And sometimes that's the loudest beauty of all. Above the herb bench, where ivy curls like forgotten whispers and filtered sunlight slips through pergola slats, a trio of owls keeps quiet watch. They don't hoot, they don't move, but there is presence in their stillness, a soft pulse of memory and patience. These owls are not carved from wood or fired in clay. They are born of bottles, spoons, moss, and time. The first owl, painted in faded browns with a hint of olive green, has eyes fashioned from the lids of long-lost jars. His beak, a spoon painted with tiny red blossoms, juts forward like a question left unsaid. Moss peeks from the top of his crown, a bit unruly, a bit perfect. His wings, shaped from old cereal box plastic, glimmer slightly in the morning light. Another owl nearby tilts its head just so, as if listening to the wind comb through the time below. His bottle is smaller, his spoon beak brushed in soft lilac. A third owl smiles wide, though no mouth was painted, just the angle of his eyes, wide and uneven, full of something kind. They swing gently when the breeze comes. Not too much, just enough to suggest breath. They do not ask to be noticed, but they reward you when you do. These aren't just crafts. They are invitations to reuse, to look closer, to suspend your disbelief and hang something in your garden not because it's useful, but because it's joyful. All you need is a bottle, a spoon, a splash of paint, and something soft. Moss, maybe, or memory. Let it hang. Let it watch. Let it remind you that some things are more alive when still. At the edge of the herb bed, where marigolds bloom like bursts of gold and the scent of basil drifts lazily in the heat, two roosters hold their ground. Not crowing, not pecking, but standing proud, fashioned from forks and wire, and the kind of patience only found in slow afternoons. Their bodies are shaped from plastic bottles, padded with painted layers of red and chestnut. Their tails, oh, their tails, flare in arcs of old plastic cutlery. Spoons, forks, even a lone knife, all dyed in flaming tones that mimic a dawn sky. Bent ever so slightly, their feathers catch the light as they sway. The heads are pieced together with whimsy. A spoon has a beak, curved and chipped at the tip. A comb made from a plastic lid, sliced into jagged points. Their eyes, of course, are buttoned and bright, mismatched in size and angle, but always looking outward as if ready to spring into some grand garden mischief. Their wire feet, shaped from coat hangers or scrap fencing, anchor them just enough to keep them upright but never stiff. These are not decorations that fade into the background. They strut, even when still. You don't build a rooster like this with precision. You build it with rhythm, with a handful of forgotten tools, and the belief that boldness belongs in bloom. So go ahead, bend that spoon, paint that fork, twist that wire, and when it all comes together in a rooster that looks like it might crow at any moment, let it live in the garden. Let it remind you, noise isn't always sound. Sometimes it's color. Sometimes it's courage. In the far end of the garden, past the beds of oregano and thyme, there's a corner that feels like it's watching you back, not with cameras or glassy eyes, but with creatures bright, tall, and oddly endearing, emerging from behind a sun-warmed bamboo fence. A parrot perches there, wings outstretched in a fan of red and yellow spoons. And beside him, a giraffe leans forward with gentle tilt of its detergent jug neck. The fence itself isn't perfect. Its edges softened by weather, its stalks slightly bowed. But that's exactly why this space feels so alive. The giraffe's body is stacked from reused bottles, its spots dabbed on with uneven strokes of brown paint. Sponge horns stretch upward like question marks, and button eyes glance to the herd below as if to ask what you planted today. The parrot, ever flamboyant, balances on one leg made from wire, its beak crafted from an old garden scoop that now gleams under the morning sun. Each spoon feather catches a light, casting flickers onto the fence like stained glass from a child's hand. Together, they animate the space, not as lifelike animals, but as companions of imagination. They don't move, yet everything about them feels in motion. The ivy inching toward their feet, the mint brushing their legs, the sun shifting shadows across their bright faces. It doesn't take much to create a scene like this. A bottle, a spoon, some glue, and a quiet afternoon are enough. And when you place your creatures there against that imperfect fence, it becomes something more than a wall. It becomes a storybook ledge, a gallery of joy, where even recycled things get to look out and feel part of the world. In a garden that hums with basil and breeze in the breeze, there's a pause, a pocket of stillness framed by a tire, not a tire in motion, but one that's been laid gently into the earth, its shape softened by age and its center transformed into a mirror. This isn't just a water feature. It's a world, lined with plastic sheeting and ringed with white stones. The tire now cradles still water, and on that water, lilies drift, not grown, but crafted, their petals cut from old plastic jugs, open like soft crowns in the sun. Some cradle small hyacinths. Others simply catch the light and let it go. At the pond's edge, a frog sits, green, round, and made from a soda bottle, its wire legs folded like it's been resting there for hours. Another peers out from behind a thyme bush, its eyes wide, its body balanced on a scrap of driftwood. They don't croak, but they make you smile. Everything here feels calm, gentle, a little magical. The reflection of clouds on the pond shifts with the breeze. A bee pauses for a drink, and for a moment, the garden becomes more than a place to grow. It becomes a place to imagine. You don't need a pump or marble tiles. You need a tire, a jug, a bottle, a quiet hour, and the willingness to build something small and beautiful, not because it's useful, but because it brings peace. And that's what this pond gives back. not just water, but reason to kneel down, look closely, and be still. Sometimes, a garden reflects more than what it grows. In a quiet nook between two herb beds and a vine-covered fence, a mirror catches a light. Not polished silver or antique brass, but something born from bottles, gathered from drawers and bins and forgotten corners. The frame is a mosaic of plastic lids, bright reds from old soda bottles, deep blues from milk cartons, soft whites from beauty jars. They're placed not in perfect rows, but in a rhythm that feels like music, slightly offbeat, utterly human. Each cap tells a story of something opened, used, and nearly discarded. And now, together, they form a portal in the garden wall. When you stand in front of it, the mirror shows you what you'd expect. Rosemary reaching for sun, thyme spilling gently over a stone path. But look again, and you might notice the way the colors around the edge make everything seem just a little more alive. The way a patch of mint seems greener. The way a bee in flight becomes part of the artwork for just a breath. The beauty of this mirror isn't in its perfection. It's in the reminder that reflection doesn't need gold to be valuable. That what we throw away can frame something sacred. You don't need special tools to make it. Just a mirror, a handful of caps, strong adhesive, and the willingness to look at your trash differently. Press each piece in place. Let the sun bake it into memory. And when you hang it on your fence, you won't just see your garden. You'll see what it taught you, that reuse is art, and art is everywhere. Beneath the kitchen window, in a garden no larger than a blanket spread across the grass, color rises from the soil, not from flowers exactly, but from something blooming in spirit. Standing among thyme and marigolds are petals shaped from broken fans, reborn into flowers that don't wilt, don't fade, but still feel somehow alive. Each flower begins with an old fan blade, those curved plastic pieces once used to push air, now pushing wonder. Cut free, cleaned, and painted in bold strokes of pink, purple, or blue, they catch the morning light like stained glass. Some petals curl slightly at the edges, not by design but by time, and that only makes them better. At the center of each bloom sits a bottle cap, often yellow or orange, sometimes white. They're glued into place with a press of the thumb, imperfect and joyful. The whole flower is mounted on a wooden stake or a rusted metal rod from a forgotten broom handle. Whatever was on hand, whatever could hold the vision steady. When the breeze comes, they tremble ever so slightly, not spinning, just swaying, as if nodding in agreement with the rest of the garden. Yes, they seem to say, yes, we belong here too. There is no blueprint for making them, only a box of scraps, a few colors, and a desire to bring brightness into a small space. In tiny gardens especially, they shine, not as replacements for living flowers, but as companions, quietly rooted in repurposing, blooming from the belief that trash can become tender. Plant one, then another. Let them gather like a chorus that sings even when the soil sleeps.